Hi, I'm Judith Minton, and welcome to Thrive by Design, the show that looks at apartment design with safety in mind. Thank you for joining me for episode 2. Our first episode was a big success. We had over 70 residents join us for the live premiere. But there's a buzz in our community. There's talk of how to eat an elephant, well, how to start decluttering, and how to organize your medication, and how to make the expiration date larger on some of your over-the-counter supplements. The importance of creating clear and unobstructed pathways in your home. But most importantly, there's talk of the big reveal. Stay with us because we will be welcomed into Janet Anderson's redesigned apartment. I hope you're ready. So relax, sit back. We'll be right back. This is Thrive by Design. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited about today. Today is the big reveal. We're here at Janet Anderson's apartment. So let's see what all the fuss is about. Janet, we're here.
Hi, welcome to my home. Welcome, Judith, Christina, and Marilyn. Please come in. Welcome to the Allegra Village. Welcome. Welcome to my new home. My home was professionally organized and downsized by this very creative company here. Judith and Christina. And I hope you like it as much as I love it.
Well, let's take a
Let's
tour.
take a look around.
Okay.
Tell me whether you like it or not.
Okay. Well, you tell us.
Okay.
When we walked into this
I
new
loved
design,
it.
you loved it?
I love it.
How do you feel when you come home?
I feel like I'm in a hotel and that I can just relax now.
Okay.
And I don't have to be, tightly squeezed in. So you guys did such a wonderful job. I'm just so appreciative.
Well, let's take a look at the kitchen because that's what we walked into. And Christina, that is your territory. So tell us what was in mind when you started to organize the kitchen.
So we wanted to look at some kind of minimalism, only so that way every time Janet wakes up, she's got to go to an appointment, or she needs to do something earlier than the regular norm. Things are easily accessible to her. Yes, there's going to be cleaning supplies, there's going to be other things, but on the general, keeping it minimal is the easiest thing for her. Yes, at the end of the week, it's probably going to go back to the way it was, and that's okay, because that's daily usage. But when it's easy, minimal, you just go to whatever it is, the coffee maker, the toaster, whatever it is, it's easily accessible.
Well, one of the things we found in going through the things that you moved into your apartment was this glass top desk.
Oh,
Okay,
true.
but it wasn't a desk.
I had
It
forgotten
was-
that I had it.
Yeah, it was a piece of glass and 2 pedestals.
Mhm.
And you had such a small space there. When we put it together, it allowed for cabinetry, some plastic cabinets to be slid in. It still gives you space for your trash can, but it gives this lightness of having this beautiful glass top. Yeah.
And it gives enough organization there, and it's a smart area to organize in a small area.
Well, one of the things, remember when I first came, was just getting into the apartment?
Getting into
That
the
flow. And Thrive by Design really stresses the flow. And if we look at the door and look as we walk through, why don't you walk all the way to the sliding door and show us how easy that is?
Of course.
And Marilyn, your neighbor, can follow through because she's going to have a place to sit at a table.
And it's a beautiful patio, beautiful patio. Have a seat, Marilyn.
Yeah, Marilyn, have a seat. So when, if you, you know, when you moved in, that wall was that.
Came out, oh, the cabinet,
The
the
China
China cabinet came out to here. It was so large, almost to here. And then there was a big table for 6 or more people, dining room table, with 6 chairs.
So we
We
replaced
didn't
that.
have any room.
Right.
And then there were clothes there and baskets and everything, and we passed them on.
We did.
Judy talked me into it, because I hate to give up things.
Well, you have classic tastes, and so we talked about how important it was to you to when you found something that fit, because
Exactly.
of
because
your
I'm
height and
so
the
tall.
and the style
I
that you
can't
like.
find things like you and Christina can, because
So-
of my height, my stature.
So you would
So when
buy
I
it.
buy it, I hold on.
Yes.
Hold on to it.
And so
why I
that's hard
have
to
so
separate
many,
with. Yeah.
They're not expensive. They're just clothes.
But we talked about letting go of some things. And that's what is so hard, is when you look at all of it together, it's overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
But when we looked at a bag at a time,
Mm-hmm.
that bag became something you could separate from. And so we had 4 flatbeds worth of things that
That
moved
many?
on.
Oh my goodness.
They either moved on to give joy to somebody else or moved to one of your 3 storage units,
True.
which you will eventually go through again and sort some more.
True.
But let's look at the table. That table is a small 4-chair table. And we looked at the placement. One of the things that you liked was looking out the window.
Oh, yeah.
And so now we placed it over by the sliding door as opposed to putting it close to the kitchen. And that gives you a view of the patio and the parking lot, and you can see people coming and going.
I love it. I sit out there and drink coffee and talk to my neighbor, Marilyn, sometimes.
Yes, through your porch.
So,
So
yes,
what do
I
you-
love the outside.
So what do you think about the openness of just being able to have that open space? And I know you love your music to dance
You
in.
know I love it. You know I do. So I can't express how much I love the way it looks.
Well,
And I call this is my term of phrase. I call this
shabby.
shabby chic.
Shabby chic, which is trending
Shabby
now. Shabby
chic.
chic is trending. Okay. So we have,
Nothing goes together. It's just stuff.
it's eclectic.
Yeah,
That's
whatever
right, it's
it is.
eclectic.
I don't know.
So
But
you
it-
had a big couch, all right, and you wanted to keep it.
looks
And we
good.
talked about having a coffee table,
Mhm.
but that would require, again, walking around a piece of furniture. You
So we
discovered
found it.
this table.
You
okay?
found it.
It was
Yeah.
packed in a box, and a part of the glass was in another box, but it's perfect because it slides up and you're able to sit there and use it for eating if you wish, or you could move it out and have it be more decorative. So everything almost everything that you had was used to modify. We brought in a few extra pieces. Your beautiful television set, okay, was sitting over here
On the counter.
on the counter. And so when you felt comfortable letting go of the china cabinet,
Yeah.
we were able to find this piece, and this was a piece donated from a family's home that was a resident who passed, and the family donated some of the pieces, and so we were able to acquire this one. And we were challenged by finding something that was wide enough to hold this magnificent television set. So this was what we found, and it fits perfectly. The other thing was the cabinets. All right, you have some beautiful items, but that china cabinet was a little bit overwhelming. So these cabinets were down in treasure chest, And so we purchased these for you, and we had maintenance come and attach them to the wall, so they are very secure. But you're able to display those beautiful dishes and gold rimmed glasses and some of your other items here. And on the other side, there became a space for your many CDs.
Yeah,
And that was a
they're hidden,
challenge.
but it's
Yeah.
a lot of them.
Well, why don't you walk over there and open the door so we can see what's inside?
So you see, I love music very much. It calms me down. Yes, yeah, I know you hear me playing all of my CDs over here.
No, I don't.
You know?
Surprise.
To the walls, no.
Do you hear Marilyn playing the piano?
I do not.
Oh, well, then maybe.
I wish
maybe
I
we get together.
could.
Well, now we have an opportunity to invite your friends to come
Absolutely.
into your home and sit at the table and play
Have
cards,
some
and
drinks.
drink, have a meal
Dance. We
together.
can even
You can even
dance.
dance in here.
Wow, how about that?
One of the pieces that I know you wanted to retain was this piece here
Yeah,
that belonged
that's
to
my-
your mom.
This piece went with the china cabinet and the long table. But I wanted to keep something that
So-
reminded me of that
Sure.
set.
And so moving it here as opposed to making the table here
Mhm.
allowed us to recess it under the
Mhm.
lip of the cover
Yeah,
here,
counter.
and the counter, and so it gave you even more space. Here's another piece that was treasured, and you wanted to keep that. We were able to position it so we still have a clean walkway. And then we have this absolutely lovely cabinet here that is your bar. So inside
Exactly.
is your liquor cabinet. But you had beautiful oriental pieces.
Your husband came and
Yeah.
my
My husband, who's 6'4",
Yeah.
and has an eye sight line a little closer to yours than mine, came and hung the pictures.
Yeah.
And so it really started to take shape when we started to bring out those treasured pieces and put the pictures up and the knickknacks and create conversation centers. And so
That
that's
jade
important.
tree came from my mother's.
Okay. So mom is very
She
important.
had very good taste.
And she's very much a presence here.
Yes,
So,
yes. I miss her.
Yeah. Well, you can enjoy her through her pieces.
Yes.
And that's what, when we talk about decluttering, it's
Mhm.
things that can easily be let go first. And then is there a way to incorporate those precious pieces in a way that still gives you that thrivable design? And you've done that. You've allowed us to
You
do
have.
that.
You and Christina.
So we used your pillows, you were into pillows, so we kept those here. We
And
love the lovely
even my,
blue.
I don't know if it's real or not, but it's soft. What
It's
is
like a
that?
fake
what
fur?
would you call it?
Yeah,
A
it's
fake
fake
animal.
fur, right? Yeah.
But it's really soft and I like it.
And your hats, you're big into
My cowboy
hats.
hat,
And
everything.
so we have the hats, and I was thinking, we do have more hats downstairs. We might be
Lots
able to
more.
make a feature, a hat feature over there in the corner. And that would again bring out your personality.
Yeah,
Which is
let's
really
see.
important. Okay.
Yes.
All right. What was the most surprising aspect of this makeover? What surprised you about doing this?
Well, considering the size of the apartment was so small, I don't know the exact square footage.
I believe it's 600 square feet.
Oh my goodness, I've never lived in a place that small. And I had such big furniture, I didn't think that I was gonna be able to make it work. And this lovely neighbor of mine across the hall, she said, I know somebody that could help you.
And you were courageous enough to answer the door when we came and to say yes when we offered to help you with a makeover.
My favorite room in the whole house, because I take a lot of naps.
Well, you did have a back injury and some surgery.
My goodness.
And so
yes.
you do have to take care of yourself and
Right.
rest.
Right.
And so what we tried to do is create an environment that was low stress. One of the stressful things was having so many things on the floor. And so the primary objective was to create a flow. So we removed a king size bed, brought in a dresser, right? And a chest of drawers. And so that allowed you to take your clothes
Space.
that were on the floor in your bags that you moved with and put them away where they would have a permanent home. All right. And so if you remember the first show, we talked about medication organization.
Yes,
And here's the
we
box.
did.
Christina talked about that.
Yes.
So here we
That was
you found it.
originally mine.
Yes.
And I had donated it.
Yes, you did. You
Somebody went back and found it.
I did. I
Yes,
went back and
yes.
I found it.
Yes.
And and Chris or Janet, you found the medication that was some lost somewhere.
I sure did.
and now
She condensed it into one area, and now we're going to be able to organize it. This might be another segment, another session, but organizing it, dating it, labeling it, expiration dates, how to use it, what it was for initially, because I forgot it was so long ago. So that kind of thing is all condensed into one thing, and congratulations on that. That's big. That's really big.
it's a pretty box.
It is pretty.
Yeah.
So in the future, we still have plans to get the television mounted. Okay, so that's
We
in
will.
process.
Yes.
The mounting has to be done by maintenance because it is a major drilling
Right.
with anchor bolts into the wall. And so as soon as your harness or whatever they call it, the holder for the TV comes, you'll have
the
it put
bracket.
the bracket. Okay, thank you.
The
very much.
mounting.
The mounting bracket. It'll be put on the wall.
Yeah.
All right. So we moved a couple things around. This beautiful piece was in the corner hiding. We brought that. This beautiful picture was down in your storage area. We brought that back. That picture again was an acquisition. Your file cabinet. This chest here was not being utilized fully.
Properly.
Yeah, and so we put blankets
I think it was
in.
there, right?
And it was here.
Okay.
That's right. It was here.
Now
the
it's full
keyboard
of
was here.
blankets.
And now it has blankets. It has things for the winter. And you still have room for your keyboard,
Yes.
okay, which was important to you.
Maybe I'll learn to play one day.
I know
Well,
somebody
you've
who
got
might
a
be able to
t-shirt
teach you.
right over there.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing was a clothes rack. And we go back to the fact that you buy classic clothes. And they're very
Never
important
get
to you.
rid of them unless they become too small.
Okay.
And
So-
I had that rack all the time.
And the rack was on the other side.
Yeah.
of
so
the
you
room.
moved it over there.
And the mirror was over there. And so it wasn't organized in a way that would allow you to see out the window.
Right.
And you weren't getting any light.
Right.
And so that was the impetus of making the move. Okay? And then we,
And it's beautiful.
This mirror
We gotta
here,
talk
I just
about
wanted
this.
to bring that out. This mirror in the placement that it is perfect because it's giving us more light, that reflective feeling. Also, it's a small space, but it's expanding the space as well. And it's showcasing something very delicate and beautiful. So I think that's a real vital, important decorating tip there. And she's can, make sure that she's getting dressed and
I can
it's right there for her.
definitely see
Yes.
myself.
It's
believe it.
wonderful. Good job.
Where was that before?
that was over there.
And
that
that-
corner
oh,
there.
It's hiding
With the
over
clothes
there.
in front of it.
And not
So,
only is
yeah.
it being utilized, but it's actually a decorative piece.
Yeah,
So-
yes.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that you can use it is really important and see yourself in the full, full measure.
Mhm. And this is my beautiful duvet that was donated by this lovely lady here.
Well, again, this was a piece that my husband gave me when we were in the Airstream traveling in Florida. And we no longer have a queen size bed. And so I asked him if he'd be comfortable with my passing it along to someone who would appreciate it. And he said, not a
It's
problem.
beautiful.
So it means a lot to me, and it means a lot that it's going to someone who appreciates it.
I do.
Okay. And if you notice,
Wanna
the
see
door is
inside?
closed.
Oh,
The
yeah,
doors
I
are
couldn't close
closed.
the
We
door
can close
before.
the
There was
doors.
so many clothes hanging on the door.
Yes, but there's still a lot in there. but it's more organized and she has
then
a
it was
go through it.
it was so full. No, it wasn't this one. Where the
The other
brackets,
one, yeah.
the other,
Yeah.
the hall closet.
Yeah, the hall
brackets
closet.
broke.
Collapsed. From
So
regular
it's just too many clothes. I need to get rid of more.
But now you can see what it looks like, what it feels like when the doors are closed.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So when you have a little bit more organization, your perspective changes. So your mind's eye looks at, how can I organize my space a little more effectively? I don't have to live in it the way it is now. It can be more organized. And it doesn't take a whole lot. It could be just finding a small file cabinet and putting in your documents. It could be removing a mirror and putting it on the other side of the room, or taking the pictures that are piling up and getting them up on the wall. So you can create organization and decluttering with small increments. You don't have to do the big makeover. You can start small, but continue, and it makes a huge difference during the course of a year. If you addressed one thing every day, that's 365 items that could pass along to someone else's joy in a year. Think about it. All right. A really big picture
Yes.
that you wanted to have hung.
And it was in the basement in storage.
Yes, it was. And we
So-
found a blank wall.
We pulled it out, and guess where it is now? In the bathroom. It's behind the door though. But it's a beautiful picture.
There is nothing wrong in creating a gallery in your bedroom.
No, it's not.
I love it. It's a black and white gallery, but you can see it through the mirror when you look in
You
the
sure
mirror.
can.
Yeah, you can see a beautiful picture.
Yes.
It's not hiding.
Oh, no.
You can go ahead
No,
and give her a hug.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you
Oh, my gosh.
for passing it
All I
on.
did was introduce you to Judith,
And you
who I
saved-
knew how to do, she
you
knew how to do
saved my
things.
life, that's for sure. And this lady too.
Thank you.
They're just so professional.
Thank
They
you
know how to move things around and make them look better
And still respect your
and be
feelings.
organized. You know, you gotta have a sense of organization.
Yes.
And that's what they do.
Well, let's talk about respecting your wishes and what works and what doesn't work. Because I look at what we do more like love it or list it as opposed to a makeover. Because I put a lot of myself and my perspective in moving things around in this apartment. But when it comes down to really living here long term, it's the resident. It's you, Janet, that has to live with the decisions that were made. And so there's a decision we made that wasn't, and maybe
Wasn't
hasn't
easy.
been met
Wasn't easy.
with complete acceptance, and that's okay. And that is the bed.
The bed.
Okay,
Right.
so let's talk about what that means for you. You had a choice to make. The choice is comfort. We
Yes.
spend a lot of time in our beds,
Yes.
all right? And especially when you're not feeling well, okay? The bed is really important.
Well, I did decide that I like my bed more, my
Okay.
king size bed,
Okay.
which, you know, I'm a big woman, so I like to spread out in my bed.
Okay.
So,
So one of the things that we talked about is the trade-offs. What are you going to lose? So you gain the
Space.
comfort and you
Space.
gain that connection with that bed frame and the mattress that you're good?
I think it'll work.
Okay,
It'll be a foot longer.
right, we
you
we
said.
mapped it out
Yeah.
and it's a foot longer, so she is gonna lose some space
And it's wider, of
and it's a little
course.
wider.
Yeah, but I love that bed, but it is a little too high.
Okay, so the other bed fit her lifestyle.
Other one was shorter and I could get in it better.
Okay.
you know.
So that's the trade-off that you make.
This
and
one
we're gonna
hurts
make it
my
happen.
back when I get in it.
And we
It
don't want
hurts my
that.
back.
So we're gonna make that happen for her. And
I've noticed when I've been shopping for other beds, when you go and shop for them, I want to be able to sit down on it. I don't want to.
You don't want
I don't want to have to get a stool to sit
climb
on.
up on it. Yes. So
we
that,
do have some options that she can consider if she wants to keep the queen. But if you are committed, we're committed to making you happy. You know what the trade-offs are.
I
You're
do,
willing to
I
accept
do.
them.
but it's a
and
lot
that's
more
fine.
room in there now
Yes,
than it was.
it is.
So I definitely would
Okay.
like my bed
All
back.
right, we'll make that happen.
But I love everything else. Everything.
So what do you want to tell Allegria Village, all your neighbors, about this experience? And you can look right into the camera. What do you want to tell them about this?
Well, I would like to tell Allegria Village that it's a very difficult thing to do, to have somebody in your house, moving stuff around. But as you can see, after you get rid of things, then you have a more beautiful place to live and more comfortable. So I would like to recommend this group highly.
Thank you, Jen.
And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
You're a courageous woman and a smart one, too.
You So
Well,
yeah, I'm happy. I'm very happy.
well, we're delighted
Oh, we
that
really
you
are.
let us.
Yes.
You can hug her, too.
Thank you. I want to leave you out.
No, definitely not.
Yes, but I'm so happy and comfortable now.
And that was what our goal was.
Also, one last thing, one last tidbit is the safety. As a caregiver, I do look at the safety. This is an open area. If anything were to happen, God forbid, but any emergency technician, anything can come in here safely and get to her if anything were the issue. So in that case, if we needed a temporary walk or any kind of device, there's perfect flow and room for that. And that for me is everything. As long as I can get to, as a caregiver, get to the things that they may need, medications, any supplies, any first aid things, everything's so easily accessible. And
But
that's
you
what
wouldn't have been able to do that.
prior,
when I
no,
first moved
not
in.
at all. We would
I
be
couldn't
fumbling.
even find my medication.
Okay. So then we're just finding these safety things along with keeping respect with her design elements and where she wants the placement of things. And sometimes we had to negotiate.
Yes.
But at the same time, it was all worth it. She's safe. We know she's safe. I can sleep at night knowing that she's safe. The things are not in the path. And so, and that to me, after that, everything you can have it wherever you need it. We know that you're going to be safe. Okay.
Well, we know that when your space is organized, it reduces stress and it can alleviate depression.
You got it.
And ADD, if you're a real creative person, sometimes you just need to reduce the amount of clutter. That doesn't mean you stop being creative, it just means you have space to create. And that's what we wanted to turn about for Janet, was to give her a space for her to love her music, do her cooking, invite her friends in for a meal or a game, or just stop by for a drink. And now she feels comfortable to do that. So it has been our honor to serve you in helping you achieve your goals. And so,
Not as much as mine.
all right. And we'll be out of your hair now.
Yeah,
You won't
definitely,
hear
yes.
us knocking, can we have an hour that we can start working and everything? But that, just because we did the makeover doesn't mean that we're
You're
out
not
of your
through
lives.
with me,
Absolutely not. We'll do a tune-up on a regular basis. We're your friends. We're your neighbors.
Okay.
And we'll always be around.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you,
Marilyn. And thank you, Allegria Village, for allowing us to do this makeover and for your interest. I hope you'll stay tuned because there's more to come. I hope you enjoyed that Did you enjoy?
That was awesome. I'm just astounded by Janet's courage.
Yes.
It was wonderful. It was just a wonderful experience overall.
Well, first of all, we want to thank her, Janet Anderson, for, as you said, her courage and her graciousness in allowing us to come in to her home. That took a lot of trust, and we will continue to honor that as we go forward. So let's talk about our impressions of the process, okay? So when you think about when we first met Janet, what she was dealing with, what was your first impression of her?
My first impression was that Janet was a little anxious, not necessarily nervous, but she didn't own her space. It almost felt as if she was there in a hotel room. She didn't feel that she had ownership of the space, and she wasn't very comfortable in her surroundings.
Yeah. In a time of transition, when you're moving from one state of being to another, one physical location to another, the transition period is critical. And unless you have a support team, people around you, or the services that help you get organized and settled, it takes longer, it's unsettling, and you're prone to depression. And as we get older, those are things that we have to deal with. Okay, so she was very trusting to let us come into her home and make some decisions, and that also support her in moving towards a chance for her to make a decision about letting go. She had to let go of things that were of precious memories of her mother. That china cabinet, the table, was all consuming that dining room, or that living space, that initial living space. I remember when I opened the door the first time, you couldn't get into the apartment. And so that was huge. That was huge in doing that. So every decision that you and I made, or suggestion, more importantly, every suggestion that we made, we had to predicate that on the fact that it wasn't about us living there, it was about her living there. And if you look at the two of us, our physical differences are very obvious.
Right.
Okay, we're 5'3" and shorter.
So we're petite.
So we're petite. We do really good in the lower levels, the lower drawers, shelving and such. Janet is 5'11".
Statuesque.
Very statuesque, and has worked a lifetime to carry off that height with grace. All right, and so that space of 600 square feet had to be comfortable to her, not to us. We don't feel that space, the constraints of that space, as much as she did. And so one of the things, as I was making suggestions, and she was accepting them, and we were creating clear pathways and views out the window, I'm looking at it from a 5'3" perspective. Even the bed, okay? So the bed became a point of serious conversation for us, in that king size bed, for me, did not give what I would recommend the clear pathway. All right. It, for me, again, created that obstacle. But for her, she needs a bigger space. She needs a larger bed, and she was very familiar. So that became the love it or list it moment, as the HGTV program.
Yes.
Where was she going to love the suggestions that I made and the changes that we made, or was she going to list it and want something back? And that is the case. And so she has asked that we bring her king size bed back, which we will be doing in the coming weeks. She understands the trade-offs, but she's willing to live with it. And I'm proud of her for knowing her boundaries and having the courage to look down at me and say, I want my bed back. Make it happen if you can. And we will do that. Yeah. So
It was wonderful. It really, like you, to just expound on what you said, for the petite public, then we thought you're sacrificing that space. But she wasn't sacrificing anything. She has to look at her comfort level. As you noticed in that segment, she did say, I have to sit up on this bed, and that's not good for my back.
Right.
So we want to think of safety in that way as well,
Right.
because she's got to
Right.
rest, and those things have to be into play. And she was, there's a point of negotiation, but she was firm on it.
Yes.
And this is, that was a non-negotiable. And I think that we all have to have a non-negotiable.
Right.
And only we know what they are.
Right.
It could be this firm, ratty-looking pillow, but that's the one for my back. Or, same thing with Janet and her bed. So.
Right. And I celebrate that. That was a good,
perfect.
that was a win-win moment.
Yes.
You know. And the whole process was not win-lose, it was all win-win. It was a win for her. She was able to find the courage to let go of some things, okay? There are things that she is still in the process of examining, like her clothes, her shoes, her hats, some of her cooking implements. But that's an ongoing process. That's what we do. We all do that.
Right.
That's part of life. And she can do it in a space that now is inviting and serene and restful. So she can take her time now. It's not a frenetic type of environment for her. So I really feel she's a trooper. She is.
She really is.
She's a neighbor that we're going to visit again.
Most definitely.
And she did invite us all back. Not all on the same day, though, if you noted that. Just come back and visit, but don't all come back at the same time. And she'll be very happy to welcome you into her space. Okay. So thank you, Janet Anderson, for trusting Christine and I to have your best interest at heart and your courage to open that door and let us come in and support you on your thriving here at Alegria Village. So kudos to you. Now, let's take a look at some tips that you asked us to take a look at and how to eat an elephant. Let's continue the conversation. So this is one of my favorite segments, how to eat an elephant. And it always goes better with wine, don't you think?
Definitely.
Okay. So, did you know that if you gave away or passed along one item every single day, you would have 365 items dispersed into the universe, giving joy to other people? Something to think about. Photographs. Oh, starting to organize those photographs again. We're going to have a segment in episode 3 that will actually show you how to organize those photographs. But remember, put the name down and put down a date and maybe a little story on the back, and you'll be able to recall the significance of those photographs.
That's great.
But the ones you can't remember that have no significance, or if you have, in my case, pictures that my dad took of 27 different shots of one garden, then I think you can pass that along and let that go to recycling. Okay. One of the questions that came from our feedback forms at episode 1, what happens to the books that we
books.
collect?
Oh, we have many, many books.
Well, first of all, we call upon Laura Laterio and her husband to come in and do a look. They do a review because Laura is associated with the Dearborn Library, and she can tell us whether the books that are being donated are appropriate for the library sale or even for the collection. Even if you have vinyl or CDs, she has a vinyl expert that can come in also and take a look at those LPs and see if they're appropriate for the Dearborn Library. The ones that aren't, I've made available to the residents We met with residents who have relatives that are homebound and love to read, and so we make those available first before we take them out to STEP and Goodwill, and both places do accept books. Okay. How long should you hold on to important papers? Well, a review on the internet, the IRS says 7 years for important documents that if you feel that you might get audited, they recommend that you hold on to them. And that's 7, not 37 years. And so you can go through and cull your important documents and start to shred and dispose of them. And be mindful that we do have shredding in the basement. That is a secure shredding box that a national company comes on a regular basis to take those documents away. And my husband and I use those quite often, and so we're confident they're being handled appropriately. Okay. Medication. Okay, how do you handle the organization of your medication and the disposal of expired meds? And I'm going to turn that over to you because you're more of an expert on that than I am. Christina?
Well, I guess I've had more experience. So I'm going to give an example of a current person that has moved here from another state. Okay, so she had a large volume of medications from a different state, but she established herself with the local doctor here, and I'll say Dr. Senko, and he refilled all those medications. Now, as a caregiver, I'm confused now. Are we going to the other state medication or this one? And for myself, I stressed I don't want to be confused. So let's stick to the current medications, and we separated all the other ones in a box. So from that point on, we established what she maybe doesn't use anymore, or that prescription strength has changed, anything like that. Any of those changes, we want to keep that aside. From that point on, we made a conscious decision to dispose of those. So there are several ways that you can do that here at Allegria. Now we know that there is, or if anybody is not aware, Homestead does have an office down in the basement, and they do accept medication, and you don't have to be a member or be
one of their
clients. And they do disposal. Also, security, specifically speaking, Mike Lewinsky will accept the medication, and he does his proper disposal with that as well.
And proper disposal looks like a Ziploc bag, and you take your meds and you can pour the pills in.
Yes.
Okay, and the liquids you can leave in the original container and just
Right.
put it in a Ziploc bag. Another suggestion was how would a member of EMS coming into my home know what I was taking? How do I make them aware of what my medication list looks like?
Okay, so a good suggestion is sometimes we're very personal and private about that information, but on an emergency standpoint, that's vital. So we can get a sheet of paper, or as I'm a caregiver, I will come in and make a list of that medication, the current medication and the dosing on it. Also, that person's name, their date of birth, and maybe their primary care physician. So that way, that gives an emergency technician that a step forward to see what's happening with them, and if this could be a question of some type of medication alert that's happening to
Right.
them. Okay.
So remember that if the EMS is called upon to come into your home, they don't know you, they don't know your caregiver. They're there to immediately respond to a crisis. And so the more that you can provide that cuts down the space between the time that they arrive and the time that they can treat you, it's critical, and it's in your best interest. So thanks, Christina.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's see what else that other people want. Can we have a tour of the treasure chest system? So thanks for asking that, because in episode 3, we are going to find out where your collectibles and your decluttered items go to create more joy? And so in episode 3, we'll respond to that question, where do they go? With a tour of the treasure chest system. We're even going to go out to STEP, and we hope to have a conversation with Tim Kane, who is the director of a local charity that supports citizens coming from prison, and that's where we send a lot of the men's clothing. So I hope you'll come back for that one as well. So the elephant is still in the room and will stay in the room continuously, because decluttering is part of life. It's how we evolve. Things change, and when life changes, fortunately, we as human beings have the ability to adapt. And tips that we offer you are suggestions on how you might adapt to that ever-evolving lifestyle here at Alegria Village. So that's our show for episode 2. I'm so glad you were able to join us, and I hope you'll come back, because we've got more exciting things to share with you in this final episode of this 3-part series. So thanks to Janet Anderson for her courage and letting us come in and make over her home. Thanks to you, Christina, for
Thank
your
you.
partnership.
Thank you so much. We have always so much fun.
We do.
So we do. We
Okay.
really have a lot of fun.
Thank for you, the elephant now in the room, for reminding us that decluttering never ends. And thanks to you, Alegria Village, for joining us. Come back for episode 3 in July. More fun.